The Reel Angler Podcast with community Kevin Brannon is brought to you by Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. Built to look good and be tough. Promar and Ahi USA. Premium fishing products and accessories with concepts developed by passionate anglers. Channel Islands Sport Fishing. Offering deep-sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats. And more. Mossy Oak. From hot days in the water to sweltering afternoons in the woods, we've got you covered. Outfit your obsession. The Latino Business Expo, Ventura County's largest networking event. Special thanks to Bruce at Kirby Subaru in Ventura. It's the Reel Angler Show, live here on Rough Edge FM. And now, here's your host, Kevin Brannon.
So Scotty is asking me if I was ready. And
he always is ready. It's not a surprise,
but
right?
But I wanted to get the intro on the gram. So we got to start. So we're filming, and we've got the filming on the gram at the same time for our viewers and fans. And
We got Barry here
there's
in
Barry.
the action.
You know, Barry's going to be in the new book quite a bit. Barry's going to be in the book quite a bit. Anyway,
We'll talk about that book coming up here real soon.
You want to do the intro real fast? Go ahead.
This is the Reel Angler Podcast with community Kevin Brannon.
That's right.
And
Barry and Sergeant Bruno.
Sergeant Bruno. And we're here today to just first time that we've had a chance to be together because we've had guests every week, really great guests.
Yep.
Check out the past shows and you'll see out the great guests that we've had. But today is Kevin's Day. We're going to talk about what's going on with community Kevin, what's going on here at the Guppy Center, what's going on in the world of the Reel Angler. So that's what we're talking about today.
Yep, the Reel Angler Network. I'm just tagging Scotty right now in the gram as well. Let's see here, FM radio. Let's see if it pops up.
Rough Edge
Radio. Hold on. I forgot that part. There you go. Anyway, we're tagged. Yeah, man, today we're going to spend some time talking about the Reel Angler Network. And we've had some great guests. Ideally, if you were a follower of ours and listening, that we were going to do guest and then update podcast and then guest and then update. But we had such a pretty good roster of people coming in that we kind of just went straight through guests.
We had so many great guests come in, and we learned so much from each of them. So we're going to, you can check back the previous shows and watch them out, and you can find clips elsewhere too. We're going to put some in the newsletter, right?
Yep, we have them in the newsletter.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Thank you for watching.
Yes, sir. Or yeah, thank you, I should say.
Well, you're welcome to.
All right, so what we're going to talk about, I'm going to move Barry out of the way a little bit.
Yes.
So if you're watching online.
Say goodbye to Barry.
The new thing we have going on, and we'll bring Barry back when I talk about the new workbooks, because it's California-based. But right now we have a project going on with Upward Bound, and they're out of Channel Islands High School. And this is for business development, child development, and multimedia. And there was one more. Oh, and outreach when we take the kids out. But actually, we don't have a lot of outreach going on right now. We're kind of just into programming and filmmaking, which is great because the nonprofit had the most of my attention, I would say. I did film a few episodes on The Gentleman when I was working there last year. I was able to take some footage and edit on the boat between making the delicious ooey gooey delicious cheeseburgers and the sunrise surprise breakfast burritos to make some film. But we're able to come back full circle right now and spend time making a couple of brand new episodes, 3-segment episodes. And Reel Guppy Outdoors will be a feature on the Reel Angler Fishing Show, which gets national airplay on different streaming platforms.
Very nice.
We're able to actually take the full vision for over 13 years that we've been doing this. If you see any old Reel Anglers videos that are up, when my kids were playing the Guppy Ranger role and what we were teaching about things that we have the Guppy Rangers doing now, we're halfway through our 4th series of the Guppy Ranger program. Thank you to the Coastal Commission for funding and the Wells Tail grant that we got to help us start piloting that. And then we also had partners that we got from the university that you guys actually heard on here before. What was his name? Wasn't Emmanuel?
I don't recall at this moment, and I don't have my notes
terrible.
in front of me.
Yeah, so we had so many though, but
there
I remember
was a whole
Will.
line of guests. They were all great.
We had Will that was here that helped us outline the Guppy Ranger program. And then, anyway, just implementing these ideas and thoughts and piloting them, right? We use that term a lot in pest control, right?
Yes.
We're going to pilot this payroll, this structure. We're going to pilot this mosquito cell. We're going to pilot it to death. So I took that terminology and we were able to pilot some of the things that were in my brain when we were just out of my house Then now that we have a facility and we have Goodwill employees and we have interns from school, but now we have from the university, now we have these kids from Upward Bound, and we're just so excited, Scotty, to release this community extravaganza blue carpet premiere, lights, camera, education.
It's going to be something. Looking very much forward to this. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of networking. It's a lot of production, but it's going to turn out to be a terrific project.
It's pretty neat, man. If you have streaming platforms now, I watched, from early interviews with me, and you hear me say it, Reading Rainbow. I'm a Reading Rainbow kid, so I've always did my educational piece in filmmaking from PBS. I'm a documentary filmmaker. Quick story real fast. My daughter, one time when she was in water polo practice, her coach said, "Hey, what does your dad do for a living? Or what does he do?" And my daughter said, "He's an exterminator." And I told my daughter, if you don't tell them that your dad's a documentary filmmaker, you're grounded. Because I'm a filmmaker. I went back to Oxnard College to become a filmmaker. I've been on national TV. I'm a filmmaker, just still waiting for my break. And then when you're doing multimedia and filming, the way that you do generate your streaming revenue, especially getting it out of the mud, and getting out of the mud, Scotty, just means like starting from scratch, right? Like we got it. It wasn't handed, nothing wasn't handed to us. We had to go out and make these contacts, put in these hours, standing at a booth for years and years, and taking lunch breaks in my pest control uniforms, and just to produce what we're doing. But it's always been based on that Reading Rainbow documentary PBS style, right? And then, so I watched that one, Butterfly in the Sky. Then I watched the Jim Henson one with the Muppets, right?
Yes, mm-hmm.
Then I watched the Wonka movie about twice, about an inventor and inventors and creators and using your imagination. It's all tied into these things. Then I watched the Gene Wilder video the other day about he was a writer and an actor and a producer, mm-hmm. and the things that he incorporates like we do with the films that we make. And anyway, that just really showed that the brand that we're trying to build is what I was watching as a kid, is once again, is what educators and families are looking for still today.
That's true. Yeah. And you continue to build. It's not like, you're trying to build, you said, but you're not. You're building.
Yeah.
You're actually in the midst of it all right now. And it seems to me like the snowball is rolling. It's like it's getting bigger and bigger as it goes. So
the momentum is definitely,
that's it.
A guy said a compliment the other day, which was neat. And again, I'm not trying to make this episode about me. Again, this is just an update video so you can see where we're at. And the different way we're going to take you down some angles to see the full brand of Rolling Their Network. But he said Kevin's like a tsunami right now coming through. You either ride the wave or you get wiped out, because the momentum is coming. So what the energy that's coming right now is just is so powerful that again, you either ride the wave or you don't. Now I remember those, again, we're not got to go down that lane, but I remember people that would when that wave was coming, and this is some of that motivation is, they would try to distinguish or extinguish the fire, and oh, you do it this way, and oh, you do it that way, and you should do this, and peer fishing that, and social media is for kids, and all the different things that I've heard and gone through of doing this, but never wavering from the vision. And again, if you listen to a Steve Jobs, or you listen to the guy from Apple, no, that is Steve Jobs, right? Yeah, him,
Jeff Bezos from
Jeff
Amazon.
Bezos, and these guys that are, even Benjamin Franklin, right?
Sure.
You're crazy. The Wright brothers, you're crazy. What are you thinking? And to never waver from your blueprint and your imagination, man. And I never did that. And but the vision, again, if you look at the Real Angler press kit from the original one, it said getting average Joes and Janes fishing and highlighting California backdrop. So check this out. Here's 3 of our workbooks, but here's the new thing. We got these suckers all packaged up with stickers, with tattoos. What else we got here? Interactive workbooks, stickers, tattoos, and crayons. Kid tested, parent approved, and educator endorsed.
Very nice.
Right? So when we go to this blue carpet premiere, we're going to highlight our new workbook, which is going to be called Coastal Critters. And we're going to bring our coastal critter friends out that people are going to get to see. So that's a little behind the scene for the coastal critters when we get into the animation that's coming. But as far as us building the brand of educational family programming, if you go to our workbooks like Wells and Friends, there's a QR code in the back. And I learned this going into the schools last year when the kids were doodling, or were Googling me, doodling, and they would find out that I was a YouTube star, a star in their eyes. Maybe I don't have 1 million followers, but locally,
sure.
That was pretty neat for them to see a YouTuber and come down the pier and yell excited, "Hey, look, Kevin's here." It was like a WWE come into the ring, and the kids would run up and slap high fives with me and, tell me I did look like The Rock, or I do look like John Cena, or I got that wrestler build. So it was fascinating. And when you watch these shows, when they're doing their research with these little groups of kids to see what they're entertained by, we've done that organically, not realizing what we were witnessing until I started piecing it together and looking at the bigger vision,
right,
and being like, wow, look at this, right? So we just took our QR code and put it in our book. So when I go into a classroom right now, I'm really studying this book with Sun-Kissed students, is the Peer Critters and Lake Critters, is that it's easy for them to find. Let's just put the QR code right in there. They could scan it, and then they could watch the videos with their parents and their family, and then come down to our kid fishing day where Community Kev will be at, and these life building lessons that we talk about in each book. And then one of them going from, I'm not gonna open them all up right now, but we have freshwater and saltwater. We have a California-based book with Wells and Friends, and then the Channel Islands. So we went regionally, we went locally, we went statewide, and then we went freshwater. And the new one, Coastal Critters, is going to deal with all that, and it's all California based in the different life building lessons that are built inside.
And that's nice because without pushing things too much forward, I mean, if you do California, you could do Arizona, you could do any place, and that goes back to the freshwater, of course.
Yeah.
But those options are there for you to explore. So
yeah, well, that's what when we were in Texas, right? We talked about making these connections, is when they see the book down in Texas at that marine sanctuary and I'm working with them, then they want to have me come down and help them develop this stuff. So Community Kev will be going coast to coast doing the most for educational practices and purposes, because collaborative efforts like this right here, this collaboration with Upward that we're doing for the Rolling Their Network premiere to showcase all this, the collaborative efforts is you could combine your resources. They might have funding that they can't spend, they have to spend on something.
Right.
And if you have a great track record of working with these organizations and you've got the same missions and you're aligned with the same purposes and the same decision makers are seeing where we're at in today's era, that I can duplicate this in their same sanctuary.
And that's what they want to see.
Right.
That's exactly what they want to see.
So
tell us more about this extravaganza, the Blue Carpet premiere.
So the Blue Carpet premiere is going to be showed. It's going to have 2 complete episodes. So you're going to see a 21-minute complete episode that
Both
you would
new
see on
episodes,
TV.
or,
Both new episodes.
Very nice.
And it's going to have 2 segments about fishing and all that part, and then each one has a 3rd segment which is for the Reel Guppy Outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
So we have one of our filmmakers right now is Delilah from Upward Bound, and she's doing the 2 6-minute guppy segments that'll be in there, and Carlo that's done Oceans of Opportunity and done a few other videos for me, he's editing that. So again, also assembling a team, that I can be the host and do these things and come up with the concept and write out the ideas, but I have people that can help edit in case I'm doing the guppy stuff.
It's essential.
And then Delilah from Upward, then she's getting work experience in multimedia and programming and stuff that's going to go in her portfolio. And we actually got all of our interns business cards last week, their own business cards.
Oh, very nice. That's cool.
Yeah, they're sending emails right now to ICAST. I got 6 appointments scheduled for ICAST in 2 weeks. So it says, hey, I'm Gustavo, I'm an intern with Rolling Their Network. Community Kev will be at ICAST these 2 days. What days work best for you? And I got 6 meetings, and then also showing growth. And then those students, those 3, Gustavo, Chris, and Emmanuel, they're involved in the business side because that's what they wanted to tackle out of those 4, business development, and that's what they wanted to get involved with. And then Delilah wanted to do multimedia. So we're going with their strengths that they want interest in and helping them to make them thrive for the culture here that we have under the roof here at the Guppy Learning Center, And again, this is a learning center. It's not a fishing center.
Right.
It's a learning center. So if we can develop impactful leaders like the Guppy Ranger badges say, see that? Developing impactful leaders. And that's by showcasing the resources that we have and the mentors and leadership that we have. And again, this is all going to come out in this extravaganza. I don't mean to go sideways on it, but again, it's going to highlight our partners in this as well. So we're going to be at the 2 episodes. We're going to have 3 locations. We have OPAC and Oxnard, which is Oxnard Performing Arts Center. So we're going to be at a performing arts center showcasing art of filmmaking, right? Then we're going to be at the Channel Islands Maritime Museum. And again, another partner here in the Channel Islands, a lot of educational stuff that we do there. We take our Guppy Rangers there as well. And then Community Roots Garden, which we had as a guest here 2 weeks ago with...
It was a great show. Those 2 ladies came in and they did a great job discussing their program. And it was that was one of my favorites that we did. They were both so inspired and so excited to be doing what they're doing that you couldn't help but get inspired and excited yourself.
Yeah, they're in the room full of people that are inspired of doing what they do and talking about the process. So we thought that would be a cool place. And that way we could do 2 Fridays and a Saturday. And to that point, Scotty, they were just at their location on Saturday with our Guppy Rangers.
Uh-huh.
And the part of that was about the process, growing, planting, getting rid of the weeds and getting to the root of problems. So we're doing some of that metaphors of life. And
I love that. That's great.
And you could see, again, like I said, with those same individuals that I was talking about at the sanctuary, having the same mission, goals, and vision with the decision makers plays out in that community too, in that garden, right? So that way we could show that this is, we call it cross-pollinating, right? So if we're cross-pollinating the community, I'm sharing my goods with you, you're sharing mine, and we're all thriving and living, right? Because that's when
and it's good for everybody. That's what I love about it. It's good for everybody. It's good for them. It's good for you. It's good for the people who participate. And that's what
for the
Kevin does. That's what he puts together.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. So again, and that helped us get to Upward Bound, where they heard about the Reel Guppy Outdoors, and I had to ask their staff if they could come in and see what we do here at the Reel Angler or the Reel Guppy Dockside Learning Center, so that they could see the 4 pillars that we could teach them. So this isn't a guppy partnership. This is a Reel Angler network partnership, but the Guppies is going to benefit from it because we're going to feature the Reel Guppies in nationally syndicated Reel Anglers Fishing Show. Right. So it's still all under my umbrella, all under my invention. But again, we're teaching things because everybody, same with those students at the school, could care less about nonprofit. Nonprofit is a tough racket, right? So if you can make your funds from a for-profit and go and get it and teach business skills, again, teaching nonprofit. Now, again, when the students come from the university, their class is nonprofit management. So then again, we could teach them that part. And anyway, so this project right here, back to the lights, camera, education, Blue Carpet Premiere, we're going to be at those 3 locations. We did 2 Fridays and a Saturday. So that way you have 2 night opportunities, to see the showing, or a day opportunity to watch it, right? So again, strategizing on how we do it. We're going to have a blue carpet. It's going to have an Oscar that we got, the big tall one. We got paparazzi. We're going to have a backdrop. There's going to be, I think it's a blue carpet up there. You're going to have your popcorn. You're going to have your little goldfish crackers. You're going to have your little sour worm candy. So we have a theme, right? And we've done this before with the red carpet premiere when we did ICAST about 5 years ago with Reel Anglers Fishing Show to highlight the Fishing with Fred video that we did. And Fred was on the podcast multiple times, right?
Yes,
So again, bringing that in, but inserting more of the guppies along with it. We're going to run our own ads in there. We're going to run a couple trailers in there for upcoming features that are coming out, like a regular movie. And then we have our own merchandise, like the Guppy books and the clothing and the towels and our pictures that we have merchandise. And then we're going to run our own commercials inside there too, instead of giving it to somebody that will pay for that advertising airtime once we go national. And that's how you get your people. So
leave your space, use it now. Use it differently later.
Or just product placement in an episode. You know what I'm saying? To make sure you continue to hype up yourself, but also, but share from a cool organic way, so that our viewers are like, look at that, man. It looks neat. It's just organic, and look how they believe in their thing, and look what they built. So utilizing all that real estate of 21 minutes too, to best fit it without pouring it down their throat, but at least utilizing it that where you could have it, so that way the network isn't, because sometimes the networks will want a minute or 2 of your airtime too that you got to get in. So you got to find cute, cool, creative ways to get your own brand or somebody else's brand, like close-ups of my Costa Del Rey sunglasses, right? So that Costa Del Mar sunglasses, Costa Del Rey, that's the city. Costa Del Mar sunglasses, maybe the camera get a good shot of me, so I'm still getting that product placement. So again, being inventive.
That's as good as advertisement as any.
Of laying it in. So if it's your own brand,
even better.
Because again, watching these movies, that's how these other nonprofits fizzled out on PBS versus Sesame Street, because they did have merchandise. You could buy Bert and Ernie's and coloring books and stuff.
Record albums and all that stuff.
So they were able to do it. Or again, Reading Rainbow did it. They were just delivering free goods like the Guppies do, right? So the Guppies gives out free kid fishing day all the time.
That's right.
We do plenty of giveaway free stuff anyway. So we have that sector. We're never going to get away from that part. But if we could find a way to keep our doors open and pay some staff from a foundational standpoint from the Reel Angler Network, that's
even
the goal,
better,
right? Just like we did when I was an exterminator and I funded everything out of my pocket anyway. What's the difference? Just a bigger check, and I could spend it around. And
it's more what you love.
But it's also, hear me out on this part, it's not about the funding that we're chasing. It's about the fact that there is a market that's out there. There's an abundance of funding and education, but not to get away that we're doing it still to be servants, and that we're not just chasing the money. And I had to have that conversation with myself to say, you want that big grant, Kev, to live a lifestyle, or you want that big grant so that you could do the 40 adventures that you love doing. And I had to make sure that my prayers and the things that I ask for in prayer and what my heart is built on, that I'm not building it just on monetary funding, but allowed to serve the way that I want to serve and still be able to live in Southern California.
You were just talking to me about that last week, and it's a good thing to consider, and I'm glad that you're thinking about that. And I think, my personal opinion, you're thinking the right way about it. So
well, that's the way it looks, man. I'm listening to a new book right now, and if you have a servant's heart, and you have that culture in your environment, it's going to thrive. Like, we're here to develop. And we gave out 2 plaques this last week to the Port and to Ventura County Credit Union, and watching their leadership, that's why they're such a force in the area, because the culture that they have at their job, because the way their leadership leads from the heart, is important to serve and to take care of people and take care of their people. And Marshall had this conversation the other day when he came from volunteering to my first staffing ever, is that I felt Marshall was the most qualified individual for the job that we could have the opportunity to do so. I've never given my baby to anybody, but looking at other people's and see how they put the right people around them and serve from the heart, and they make sure that all of our volunteers, all of our staffing, all these kids know that this is what it's for. And look at, you end up with a group like Upward Bound coming in to help you because somebody advocated for you, and they got your number because people are out sharing the gospel on your behalf because you kept it that way. And we're never going to compromise or deviate from that as long as I'm running the show.
That's right. Yeah, and you're the one who makes those decisions. You're the one who knows what the feel, what the dream, what the inspiration, what the theme is going to be for the whole thing. And so you have to make those decisions. It's not that he doesn't
and
listen
keep
to
everybody
else.
Enthused.
Yeah. And it's not that he doesn't listen to anybody else. If somebody offers him a good opinion, he's going to accept it. But you also reserve the right to, that's not going to work for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you have to put it through a filter. Is that where the brand and mission is going?
Right.
What are we compromising for that? Do we have the capacity to take that on? Right. So there are different decisions that you have to look up from a big picture standpoint. And that's something I'm always going to look at. I'm a year or two ahead of where we're at. Yesterday I went to a financial advisor institute, and somebody I known for a while, to sit down with him, and he was probably one of the best ones that I've met with, because he wasn't just trying to sell me life insurance and all that, right? And it's like, I told him there is no plan B. There's no plan B. So your normal talk to an 8 to 5 guy about how's he going to look after he retires from his job at 65 might be different than what you hear me when I'm like, again, when I tell him Oprah, right? And the reason I use the Oprah one quite a bit is just because, again, what you hear me say these names, I'm saying that you can get to their level of where they're at to sustain their own lifestyle. Again, how you get there on your journey is you, but you tell Oprah Winfrey that she only hosts a television show, that's kind of insulting. So when they say, hey, Kev, you're the guy that takes kids fishing, it's like, there's a lot more to my brand. And if you've only witnessed it for the last year or two, you might not understand. That's fine. But again, I'm not the guy that takes kids fishing. I'm a
it's only a small part of who you are.
Right. Yeah. So again, talking to the guy yesterday and getting the right guidance was to say that. And then he gave me a book to read, and I started reading it already. I'm in chapter 2 on the audiobook, and it talks about the power of culture and treating people like people, and the procedures and protocols that go into that, and development. So I'm like, maybe it's a compliment, because a lot of these we're already implementing, but it's never, again, they're never too big-headed to review it to make sure that you're still doing the right things, right?
Yeah, and you need to talk to people like that, people who can offer that kind of information, and again, for you to make a decision on. Do me a favor, tell the audience here about the shield. Tell me the story that you told me earlier about the shield, because I love this. It's another one of his metaphors, but just listen to this.
So sometimes they call these badges, right? I don't need no stinking badges. But this is a shield that we have, and it says developing impactful leaders. And the reason we call it a shield, because life has battles. So when these Rangers are going through these 8-week courses, they're learning how to overcome battles. Again, like the growth that we talked about down there, and problem solving and rod building and telling them my story, that they're learning something every week, the process, because life's going to come at you with these life building skills, or life, even the grown-ups, man. Some of us don't figure these things out until we're into our later years, because we just want to find things out the hard way, or maybe we didn't have somebody giving us the right guidance, or for whatever reason. There's probably plenty of them, but life's going to come no matter who you are, right? It's going to come, and you have to have a shield, and the last thing you want to be doing is building your shield in the battle. So have your shield always with you. So yeah, we give these to the kids, and again, developing impactful leaders to get that. Now, am I the greatest leader of all time? I'm not trying to say that we're here to build those, Scotty. Like, again, I just want to make sure that like we're tooting our horn all crazy. But I know that, again, as much development that we could share as somebody shared with me, just feel like that's a lot. But again, the phone is ringing for us to kind of help and mentor because of our success rate. So I know we're on the right path again. But yeah, man, we developing impactful leaders with your shield, because when life throws its arrows at you, it's going to come that they're ready.
I love that when you told me that earlier. So what else are we going to talk about here? We had something about the Guppy Rangers. Is there anything you want to talk about them? Is
so the Guppy Rangers
coming up?
The Guppy Rangers, man, we're on our last series, actually. We know we did 3 series already. We're We got 4 weeks left. We're going to take this Saturday off for the Guppy Rangers because it's 4th of July.
That's
but
right.
we will have our tackle swap meet down here. And we did invite the Rangers that they want to come build their tackle boxes tomorrow. They can, because that's
very
part
nice.
of it.
Yeah.
We already have all the gear out in the tackle boxes. So we'll see who shows up. We don't want to make it mandatory in case families are going camping or doing something for the holiday.
A lot of people are, too.
Yeah, we didn't want to make them give up their Saturday. So, but it's the last month, man. And it's been impressive, and I've learned through this as well. I knew I wanted to come in with this mindset of this is where we're training Rangers, and I know over the couple of weeks, like the first series, I was rarely here because I was working on the gentleman still to pay the bills.
That's right.
Because I don't make a full wage, enough to live here for what we do get for grants for me being a staff member. So Marshall and Dave and Mark ran it the first month, and they did a great job first 2 months. And I came in and I was like, well, I want it done this way, but understanding that they were already invested in it, so I had to step aside and let them kind of finish running it for the first series, and then start implementing the stuff I wanted in the second series, and then figuring out again procedures and protocols by the third series. And we still got work to do going into the fourth, but we've cleaned up a whole lot of what it would look like, and then we could take segments of that and take it to different school campuses or run it out of here again as we start to expand the brand, because it gave me a chance to get those repetitions in to develop, for leadership and to build a portfolio that these concepts are really that they really work. And the big thing again is family engagement aspect of it. Again, not just a drop-off program where it's important for families to do things together. So again, checking that box is probably one of the coolest things, having 7 students coming in that got had a great time doing it versus 20 people, because it looks like the classroom was full, and man, we have a whole lot. Realizing that 7 or 10 coming and going out of a series seemed like it had more quality to it versus again what it looked like when you're like, we need doing a huge classroom, that there was a takeaway of even the intimacy side of smaller groups is just, it might have a better effect.
You lose some of the quality sometimes. Yeah, that's true. That makes sense.
But when you get a grant and you have these deliverables and you want to shine and make sure that you're coming through on your obligations to make sure that they'll fund you, you kind of step in it kind of deep, because you're trying to be competitive and make a case for yourself, and then realize how much work you actually put your team in the hole for, where you could again modify the next year and say, well, I know if we do these 3 things really well, we don't have to do as many, and if they think that again that it's a value, then they'll fund us that way. So there's a way to look at it on what you have to really willing to put yourself and your team involved in for a grant. And that's why again, by doing this other stuff with rolling their network, I'm not only obligated, I could keep my freedom and go the way I wanted to, versus always trying to maneuver around restrictions of grants and funders, man.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
So,
and speaking of your team, and you talk about your team a lot, you're always very appreciative of your team, but I want to be too. The team here is amazing. I mean, Marshall here every day is doing a great job, and you got these new interns who are coming in. Tell us about some of the interns.
Which ones? The ones that are here now, or the ones that we've already had in the past?
Let's talk about the ones that are here now.
Okay, so right now we have Upward Bound, and they're from Channel Islands High School. Delilah's doing filmmaking and programming and editing, but she's such a dynamic kid. She was actually a Guppy. She came to a Guppy Kid Day with her Girl Scouts like 8 years ago.
Wow.
So it's kind of a full circle. It's our grand Guppies. They came back through the program, right? And so she's doing a great job of learning how to do Final Cut and working alongside her and watching her edit, and going from shooting way too much footage to just enough that we need per segment, because when you get to the post-production part, that's where all the time wastes. And then you have so many wonderful clips, like pictures of your kids, you want to fit them all in there, and doing that. So working with her has been dynamite in that section. And then moving my time over to, again, the 3 fellas, Gustavo, Christopher, and Emmanuel. So Emmanuel came in with Delilah from Upward, and then he's like, I got another friend that heard what I'm doing. Can I bring my friend Chris? So then Chris came, and then he came back the next week, and I got another friend that hears what we're doing. Could we bring Gustavo? So they brought Gustavo in, and then so I made determined that the way that this kid was fired up, Emmanuel, guess who's a supervisor? So he's a supervisor. They call him a jefe here, a supervisor. They're jabbing him because he's doing it, but he took the lead in the initiative immediately, and again, helped it out. And he making sure, so if I'm working with Delilah, to share my time fairly with her, that she's getting development while I'm not standing with the fellas for this business, because we have ICAST in 2 weeks, right? Because you got to be fair on the time and the training that you're giving to each person if you really want them to develop, right? So if I didn't give you the tools or the timing or the training, then it's on me, because again, you're not being developed, you're just being told something to do.
Right.
So we don't want to do that. So made him the supervisor, and he's doing a great job. Unfortunately, we're gonna lose him for about a month. He's got to go to Mexico on vacation.
Okay. Well,
but he has he's coming in. We have a meeting today with a school that he got one of the business cards, and went through all the business cards, and we kind of put everything in order, from fishing industry bigwigs to community leaders, and we started putting them in the database, and we started sending him emails, and we're getting some traction with some calls. So since he sent that out, I'll take a screenshot when they send the email back, because he's done other things,
right,
and say, hey, look, they're following up with you. And then so last week we had him pull out his little planner, and he put it on his date and the time, so he'll be in here today to call this teacher from Vista Real School between 1 and 3, so he'll be on the phone call with us. He was on a phone call with me Friday with Supervisor Kelly Long's assistant, so
very nice.
Bringing him into the full process.
Yeah.
So you book the appointment. I want you here for the phone call. You don't have to answer questions, but you could be a part of it, right? So you're coming along with the whole process. So that's cool. And then I ran into one of the Upward Bound teachers at the gym 2 days ago, and she has another student that's going to come in today with her mom, and she's into journalism and stuff. So she's going to help us write some in writing and doing the script writing for the Coastal Critter stuff that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
So again, we ended up starting with 2 students, and now we have 5.
There's another spider. We get one every week here on this show.
Dude, they're all over the place.
That spiders are cool.
You should see all the ants we have. So what happens is people bring in the seashells and put them in the back, and there's little critters that haven't decomposed completely. So the ants will go and feast on
That's their job.
Right. And so as long as you don't come in the kitchen in here, we're cool.
Yeah.
so they're excavating, because normally they don't get seafood. They can't hold their breath that long.
Yeah.
So they're feasting on a delicacy.
A
And again,
buffet out
we
there
coexist, because it's our community building, man. We don't come in here killing them and stuff. They'll die on their own, again, unless they're causing issues like when I was the exterminator. But as long as they stay out there taking care of the animals,
any issues. He's just cruising along.
And he'll be there until he dies on his own.
Yeah.
But I did notice that I do have some cobwebs that are like in the corner, and some that are under there where where Leslie put all the curing, all the
you got to have
shells.
a web
Yeah, so I do. Of course I do.
But
we might need to do a little webbing here just for the ones that have already expired. But other than that, they all get to come in and be part
don't bother me either.
of it. Yeah.
The other thing we wanted to talk about was, and I know that this is a learning center, not a fishing center, but people always want to know what's biting.
Oh yeah, we still talk fishing, man.
Yeah,
we still talk fishing. So tomorrow, I'm gonna go try to catch a halibut. The gentleman, where Kevin works at and loves the Rowell family, put me to work on boats, and we've been doing a lot of filming. One of my second episode ever filmed might have been the first. The PI might have been the second. The gentleman might have been the first with the camera I borrowed from Damien at the West Coast Christian Anglers from church to film with this little square camera and a little tape. And
Times have changed.
So that was the first one on the gentleman. So tomorrow they do a halibut trip every Thursday. So I'm going to go fish that. And they've been very successful, into the double digits every week on halibut. And then yesterday's count, because I've been I still watch the count every day at Channel on Sport Fishing and see what boats are getting out. And there was halibut on almost every boat, bunches of them. So the halibut are biting, calico bass, barracuda, a couple yellowtail, a bunch of white sea bass. It's that transitional time of year. We are in summer, technically, depending on sometime this June gloom hangs out here on the coast. But we are in the transitional spot of fishing surface fish. Again, barracuda, calico bass, our game fish. I got a nice sheephead last Monday. I went out fishing on the gentleman. I caught a sheephead, and I made ceviche on it, and I gave a whitefish to my friend Paul. And again, some days they don't. And people always ask me, "So how's the fishing out there?" I'm like, "The fishing's always good. Sometimes the catching isn't." But being at the islands and hanging out with the team, my old family, again, I still consider everybody in that outfit my family. Pretty much everybody at the landing is family. But just hanging out with them and having a breakfast burrito and enjoying coffee and praying and going up to the second level of the deck and watching it all the way to Santa Cruz. We went on a mission too, man, because right now there's so much bait in the water, man. We were throwing down our hooks and pulling up squid. Like you throw down a piece of squid and come up with a live squid.
Wow.
So you cut it up and use the fresh instead of the frozen.
Yeah.
So we tried, we were pulling into these little pockets on the island because Donnie didn't want to fish anything deeper than 70 feet, really. We wanted to keep it real shallow. Whitefish, sheephead, calico bass. Sometimes you get halibut in there, different sorted shallow water rockfish, sculpin. You get that batch of shallower fish. And again, bait, fin bait, just all over the surface of the birds were stuffed, the fish are stuffed, and the bait still, and you could see all the little krill and everything in the water too that really gets that ecosystem going. So we do live in such a healthy, we're at the Channel Islands, there's my book, where we talk about that in there. But yeah, it was really teeming with, again, it's not good for us to take home bunches of fish, but it's good to see the good, healthy, thriving ecosystem out there.
Absolutely. You just mentioned barracuda. Do you get a lot of barracuda out here?
Oh, dude, when they bite, they bite. They're stupid bite. We call it chewing the paint off the boat. Anything you throw out there, they're going to eat. So usually when we do the twilight run, we killed a barracuda at an east end of Anacapa, and it's usually a night bite. Once it gets dark, they quit biting. So that sunset bite on the east end, when they show up, they're just thick as thieves. And then it's funny, I say it that way just coincidentally. When they're thrashing, they're just tearing. Anything hits the water, they're just tearing up. These guys are just full on hyena mode or something. And they're sometimes you'll just see them just thrash bait and not even eat it. Like you got a big old sardine and you bring it up and they're just tearing it up. Like they're just out there just terrorizing. Like they're just bullying anything that swims at that point, right? So we catch them. And then we did a video, because barracuda locally has always been is that a fish that you eat. And a lot of boats do a better job of preserving it throughout the day, keeping it on ice.
Right.
So it's still good at the end of the day. Before we would throw them in a gunny sack and let them sit in the sun all day, it doesn't sit well in the sun. So it turns to mush and what we call cat food or something, right?
Yeah.
And now that boats are preserving them and taking them home and getting the red meat out of them and taking care of the fish better, there are definitely more people taking them home at the end of the trip to eat.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, and then we do fish them in the afternoon too. Again, the seasonal time, we'll fish the rockfish and the bass, and then we'd go over last year to the east end of Santa Cruz off Pedro Point, and they'd be there biting too, man, and it would just the clear water and watch them come and eat your bait. And then again, it's always good at the end of the day too, just because again they're fresher, and again always getting 2 or 3 of them in somebody's gunny sack. That's a lot of meat for somebody to take home. So we usually strategize on the cuda later in the afternoon this time of year. You can kind of bank your day on, we're going to start here, fish the shallow stuff, and then we'll try to finish our day over there. And then, but again, as it progresses and we fish maybe an area for 2-3 days and we don't see them biting consistently, then we'll change our game plan. We don't go over there if they're not biting, but if if it's the hot bite and they're kind of there on a pattern for a month or so, we'll fish it every day.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's very interesting. What else we got? We're at our end of our time here, so anything else you want to bring up before we? I know we're going to do a show next week. Don't know if we're going to have a guest.
Right now, well, depending, you're not going to the concert?
I am, but I'm not leaving till noon.
Okay, so
Rolling Stones.
So one of the things, that's right. So Scotty, he walks up to me today in the car. Scotty, what's going on? He goes, same old, same old. And I said, man, I do not believe the same old from Scotty here. This guy does not do the same old thing day in and day out. He's always doing something.
I try not to, yeah. So yeah,
and you're an author. What books you got coming out? What are you doing with your books?
I got a new book coming out. I don't know exactly when, before the end of the year, called "The Bowling Bag in the Back Seat," and it's a novel about a guy who is one of those Uber driver types, and if somebody leaves a bowling bag in his back seat, and you can guess what's in the bowling bag. But anyway,
it's not
a bowling ball. It's something else.
All right.
But anyway, yeah.
So how many books do you have?
I have. I've written 13, published 7.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
See. So when we get to our books, Scotty, I mean, you're going to go on tour together, man.
We
We'll have
are.
our setup, and
Autograph
we'll be
signing.
Community Kev and Sergeant Bruno and Barry, and you can find us at a store near you. You know, one thing that I was listening to when he was saying, a guy last night, was that we all love to do certain things. This was Stephen A. Smith. Again, I just happen to love all these interviews, man, about, he works for ESPN, but he wants to dabble in other things. Nothing prevents you from dabbling in other things, right?
That's
If he wants
true.
to start his own podcast and talk about governmental affairs, why can't he? Now, there are certain things under contract that he's kind of has to stay clear from.
Sure.
Because he does work for Disney and under their umbrella, but they granted him the access. They kept their word that he said, and that was really neat to say. But depending on what, you might have a couple of things that perk your interest, people that are listening, man, and why not partake in those things, right?
Like you said, dabble in them, and if they don't work out for you, you can, leave them alone, go dabble in something else, right?
But things that you love to do, you should not dabble.
That is the best thing about retirement, is that I don't have to worry about pest control.
But you were doing that even before.
I was, but that was dabbling. Now I can really focus. I'm not so much dabbling anymore as actually doing, doing is better.
Yeah. But dabbling is again just repetitions, man. If you don't get those reps in, right? Then how are you going to play in the big game? The guy asked me the other day, came by the harbor here, and he goes, "So, Kat, we're talking about Jed." And he's like, "So where do you see yourself at?" I said, "We're in the draft, baby." He's like, "Are you in school? Where would you position yourself?" And I believe we're in the draft right now, first round draft pick for our brand. We've done college, we've done university, we've done public school, we've done, and this is business metaphor, right?
Sure, yeah.
Right. But I believe strongly that we're in it. But if we didn't play in those other games of dabbling, and we weren't out there getting our reps and going through it, then we wouldn't be able to stand strong in the, in the first round.
So no show. So we will have a show next week. Don't know if we have a guest, but there won't be a show the following because you're going to ICAST.
That's right.
And when are you heading out there?
I leave that Thursday, and we put on a mission. I leave Tuesday in the morning, lose 3 hours. I get there at 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm going. I'm going there with my credentials. So going in there with my filmmaking credentials, I get dibs and media is new product showcase Tuesday night.
Very nice.
So I go check out the new products, and I get to vote as a media too, so I get to check those out. And then Wednesday is the breakfast, and then I have a couple meetings Wednesday, and then I'll be there all day Wednesday, and then Thursday do the same thing, and then Friday, and then Thursday night I fly back.
So you can guess what the show after that's going to be about. We'll be talking a lot about ICAST.
Yeah,
so
man.
you got 6 meetings set up already?
Yeah. And then what I'll do is I'm an ICAST to sharing the knowledge is I'll start getting some different podcast guests. So we'll have some new guests in the fishing industry and different outfitters and travel and government affairs and stuff that go to ICAST. So
You've been nailing and getting guests. Our guests have been great. Every single show we've done, I go home and I tell my wife, man, I met this person today. They're so cool.
Yeah, I'll bring
and
some
so
more.
much information. Yeah, I know you will.
So ICAST is buyers, sellers, manufacturers, and government agencies. So there's like a conservation piece of it. And I know people over there now, so I already have meetings. Even the guy where I called up to see if I could stay with him, I was seeing if sorry, got a little noise in here.
Marshall's on the phone, but that's okay. We're good.
But we have what was that? People who I'm going to stay with out there is going to be he does his own podcast from Texas. So I've been on his podcast before twice.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Yeah, so I called him. I was like, hey man, could I sleep on your couch? And he's like, actually, we got a room, $100. You could have your own room. And I
Damn
said,
straight.
Book it. So I'm even be staying with some
You
people
gonna do a
that
podcast with him again?
Oh, absolutely. Maybe
good.
he'll be a podcast guest. He invited us out to this thing that they do in Texas where it's like hunting and podcasters for like 3 days, man. Go out and shoot pigs and boars and fish.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out there because I didn't have the resources before, but we definitely stay in communication, man. Me and Derek York is his name.
Derek York, we have to find a place where we can go. The problem we have here is the internet's not great. So we can't do a live show.
Time out.
But something might have changed that
Time out.
I'm unaware of.
We got it. We got Wi-Fi. It's right here in the box. Let's see if Marshall can set this up. Hold on. We have this box now, so our Wi-Fi power is going to go up.
Okay, so that's the good news because we can do live shows from here with anybody in the world. We can have, look at that. Look at that.
That's not a plug, that's for real. So if we get T-Mobile, maybe we'll let them know that we're utilizing their thing to run our, always thinking, man, about
That's
the hustle,
right.
maybe. All right, let's
Another
call it a
sponsor.
wrap. It's 40 minutes in, man. That's
Okay,
enough,
that's
right?
it. Yep, so we'll see you next week. And anything else?
No, so I'll get you guys the dates. We didn't talk much about the dates that we have coming up for the Saturdays and Fridays, so we'll spend more time keeping you informed on what's going on. Oh, last thing with Barry. So the new book of Coastal Critters, we have a bear in there. So we have a bear on the front. We have a bear dot to dot. So again, this is a California theme, and since the bear is a California animal, Barry's going to be up in the book on this next one.
Very good.
So all right,
Barry's our hero.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you in a couple. We'll see you next week.
That's right. Next week.
Bye.
Bye.
The Reel Angler Podcast with community Kevin Brannon is brought to you by Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. Built to look good and be tough. Promar and Ahi USA. Premium fishing products and accessories with concepts developed by passionate anglers. Channel Island Sport Fishing. Offering deep sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats. And more. Mossy Oak. From hot days in the water to sweltering afternoons in the woods, we've got you covered. Outfit your obsession. The Latino Business Expo, Ventura County's largest networking event. Special thanks to Bruce at Kirby Subaru in Ventura. This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.